and welcome to another session of SQL tutorials with DIHL Consults. In this session, we'll be looking at SQL conditions. So, SQL conditions are used to filter and specify criteria within SQL queries. They allow you to perform operations like comparison, range checks, pattern matching, and logical operation. Common SQL conditions include the where condition, and, or, like, between, and comparison operator such as equals to, not equal to, less than, greater than, less than equal to, and greater than or equal to. So these conditions help in retrieving specific records from a database that match the defined criteria, thus making data manipulation and retrieval more efficient. So we are going to be demonstrating this in SQL Developer Platform. That's Oracle SQL Developer Platform. We'll demonstrate some of these conditions. So let's demonstrate some of the SQL conditions using the comparison operators. Say for instance, you had to select transaction greater than a certain amount to extract transaction greater than a certain amount. So firstly, let's have a quick view of data in the particular table, in this case the transaction table. So you do select all from transaction, and when you execute the script or run the statements, you have the overview of data in the transaction table. So if we are to now select transaction amount greater than 1000, you can see the transaction amount column. So the condition is to select transaction amount greater than 1000. Let's even demonstrate that if there's any transaction amount greater than 1000. So using the existing SQL script of select all from transaction, and I'll say where transaction amount greater than 1000. So if I execute this statement, run the statement, so this implies that there's no transaction greater than 1000. Let me bring it to 500 because we can see the output. There's no output. Let me bring it to 500. Greater than 500. If I run, you can see the output of all transaction greater than 500. So using our logical operator, comparison operator rather, if I also do less than 500 and run, you can see all transaction with the transaction amount less than 500. Let's take that you are given the assignment to extract transaction on a specific date. So to select transaction on a specific date, say the date given is 16 March 2024, 16th of March 2024. So I'm doing select all from transaction where transaction dates equals 16th March 2024, and then if I run the script, so you can see all transactions that were processed on 16th of March 2024. So scrolling down, we can see from here all rows fetched. It shows 60 records, and the condition is now to check the ones that are successful in terms of a transaction status. In terms of transaction status, to check the ones that are successful in terms of transaction status. So, and you can see I started the condition statement with where. The next will be and transaction status equals success as specified in the column. You can see success. And if I run the statements, we can see out of the 60 records shown earlier, we only have 19 successful transaction processed on that specific date, 16th March 2024. And then let's say we are to select transaction for a specific customer. To select all transaction for a specific customer. So still maintaining the same script or SQL statement, select all from transaction, where take out all this, where customer ID equals, let's take the first customer ID showing in our output here, and that is a CN001054. And if I run this statement, you can see for this particular customer has 11 transactions processed. Are they all successful transactions? So let's put another condition, and transaction status equals success. So for all the 11 transactions for this customer, if we run this statement, we can see only 3 of those transactions are successful. So for reporting, this is quite important. Only 3 transactions are successful. So let's also say we want to select transaction based on processor ID. We want to select transaction based on processor ID. So I want to see firstly the number of processor in that particular table. So this you can achieve by saying select distinct as one of SQL commands. Select distinct processor ID, from transaction. And if I run this, you can see we have 4 processor IDs: P01, P0001, 2, 3, 4, 4, and 2. So invariably we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see all transaction processed by P00003. So we say select all from transaction, where processor ID equals P0001. If I run the statements, You can see all the transaction processed by this processor. Let me do a count. You can, on the output pane, can right click on the mouse and then count rows. We can see here 4,871 rows. So this processor entered 4,801 transaction. But are they all successful? So let's check for all successful transaction processed by this P0001 and transaction status equals success. When we run this, so right click and do a count, you can see there are 1574 rows. So out of all that we had earlier, about over 4,000 transactions, only 1,574 were successful transaction processed by that particular processor. And then let's say you want to select transaction process within a month. Let's see, transaction process within a month. So if I take this out and say select all from transaction, where transaction dates between, let's check 01 Jan 2024 and 31 Jan 2024. You can see using a between comparison operator here and the hand. So if I run this statement, we can see all transaction regardless of the status, all transaction processed in January 2024. If we are to focus on successful transaction, I also say and transaction status equals success. If I run this, we have all this as the process successful transaction, which is 542 in January. And then if I'm to limit the processor to just two processors rather, then we have and processor ID, because it's not just one. If it's just one processor, I would have said equals to, but because there are more than one, I'm saying in to demonstrate using the in comparison operator, and processor ID in P0001 and then a comma P0003. Close the brackets. So if I run this statement, we can see for successful transaction processed in January by P001 and P003. These are the output. Let me do a count quickly. And we have 274 transactions processed by the two processor P001 and P003. Okay, so if you are enjoying the tutorial so far, please like, share and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section, and if you have any data you would like us to analyze together or need any clarification, please use the comment section to provide the details.